Hello, welcome to the Ops Team episode 18, coming at you from a very different angle as the building continues to be demolished around us. So we had to take down our security cam that was high in the rafters of the corridor there because everything is getting demolished. So we've just perched it on a table because we're too cheap to have even a tripod for our camera. So welcome. This is episode 18. 5, to keep it going. We're missing Simon this week. He's on holiday or vacation, so he will not be sending us what's new in Windows and client and enterprise mobility. So you're stuck with on-prem and Azure stuff, and then you're also stuck with these two, some are called DevOps and some Linux and open source stuff. Who knows? I don't know what that is.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
No, I do know.
That's the summary.
It's very important. So, as you know, we go around the table. We each have a couple of minutes to tell what's new in the news. And to get us going, we're going to use my banana, which you can't see on the security cam, but you will be able to see shortly. It's a bit of a battered, bruised banana, but never mind. Story of my life. So, do you want to give it a spin? As soon as you've got the longest arm there. I wasn't thinking of a vertical spin. That's a very advanced spin.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay.
That's it.
It's a bit of a poor spin.
I'm honored to
Right.
be pointed
So
by the banana.
let me start off your timer. Are you ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Starting your 5 minutes and go.
Okay, the first news, the big news is Bash on Windows.
Nice.
So I am hoping I'm covering some of Simon's area now.
Yeah.
Because it's Windows. It's Bash on Windows, or to be precise, it's Ubuntu on Windows, which runs Bash. It's
Okay.
like,
This is like Inception.
Yeah.
I'm getting
it's
confused now.
Inception.
Yeah.
So tell us about how that works.
So is it a virtual machine?
Right.
No,
Oh,
it's not.
I thought it was.
Is it a container? No. I mean, is it something like running in the background, something? No, it's basically the Microsoft research team and the Ubuntu guys just work together, and they put a layer between Windows and Ubuntu. So whenever Ubuntu makes a syscall, this layer translates this call into a Windows OS API call.
Right.
So it's pretty huge.
But where does Ubuntu live? I mean, is it installed on Windows?
The Ubuntu user space is
Right.
installed. You can think of it like this. So it's just native Ubuntu. So you can use apt and install Ubuntu packages.
Okay.
So it's not like you download a precompiled version like Cygwin. It works, but it's a precompiled version for Windows. This is not like it. You can just
So
use
can you
Windows.
run apps and things that are
There are gaps. It's not
Okay.
like everything is supported.
Still early as
Because
well.
it's still
today.
early. It's still early days, but you can use apt. You can run SSH to connect directly into hosts. I don't know, the Unix tools like awk, set, args, find, sort, they all work. And that's cool because, I mean, it's not going to be like maybe for everyone, but especially for web developers and sysadmins. If they have a script they're already using, probably that's going to work in that Bash as well.
So if I understand it correctly, you'll download some kind of installer. You'll install it on your Windows machine, and then you'll be able to.
The bits are not pushed to my machine yet.
Right.
So I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Okay.
It's part of Windows, but it's a feature in add remove programs.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
it's a Linux something subsystem. So
Excellent.
you need to enable this.
So just
and
search
then
for
you
Linux
have it.
something subsystem.
Yeah,
in
Linux
your-
something. I'm gonna add the links in the blog post.
SSS.
SSS. And you just use the command prompt. It's
Right.
not just cmd.exe.
And then you just start bashing.
You just start bashing. Yeah.
Excellent.
The second one is, I'm gonna also share my screen now, is Docker on Windows.
Oh, I see you've plugged in there. I didn't know.
Yeah,
That's very
and
sneaky.
It
It just works. Okay.
Yeah,
Very good.
cool.
Yeah.
Docker on Windows. So up until now, we need to install something called Docker Toolbox to run Docker on Windows. In Linux, you use Docker, and when you install Docker, it's both your host and your management interface.
So you can run containers locally.
Yeah, exactly. In Windows and Mac, we were doing was you install Docker Toolbox, so it runs VirtualBox, a VM in VirtualBox, and uses the Docker Toolbox Docker machine to connect to this virtual machine. But now it's all native, so it uses Hyper-V. I'm super happy to learn this because If you're using VirtualBox in the same box, you're not able to use Hyper-V.
Yeah.
You have to disable
There's a bit of a
Hyper-V,
conflict,
blah, blah, blah. Right now, it just runs on Hyper-V.
Nice.
So you can see in my screen now, I have this little whale icon in my taskbar. It says Docker is running. And in my Hyper-V manager, I have a virtual machine called Mobile Linux VM. And I haven't created this myself. It's just when you're installing these things, it enables Hyper-V, restarts the computer, and creates a virtual machine.
Cool.
And when I open my PowerShell prompt, I can just use my PowerShell to run Docker, like Docker run hello world.
We don't often do demos on the ops team. This is new ground. Yeah.
Fancy.
No, it's not.
He's using his
It's just
Gets his new fancy machine and starts doing demos.
I don't want to talk about
Can't
it.
resist.
So yeah, it's probably my network is not running correctly at the moment, but you can just Docker run hello world, Docker run anything in the PowerShell.
The usual Docker commands.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that is cool. And the unified management of Docker across now Windows and Mac is important because there's a lot of developers out there who use Macs and a lot of developers who use Windows. So it's cool. So is that your news?
Yep.
Wow. You say it very efficient. Save 20 seconds as well. Do you want
you
to wait
go.
20 seconds for the cow, or should we just
next week?
stop it off and just move? There we go. So, do you want to spin the banana?
That's you or me, huh?
Nice work. Well, it's yeah. I'll try and combine Azure and on-prem into one actually this time.
We'll see if I can get an actual real spin on this thing.
But bear in mind, every time you spin it vertically, my banana that I am going to eat gets more and more bruised.
Oh well, I don't know how it's going to work like that.
It moved before. Well, that was a little bit lame. Let's give it a fast spin.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
like
it. That's
this,
it.
maybe?
Yeah. Is she?
Me.
There you go. Right, I'm last.
Oh,
Okay, you ready? I'm going to start your timer. You all set?
Sure. Yep.
Here we go. Coming at you. Hang on.
All right. So first up, I figure piggyback on the open source colleague here.
Nice.
Visual Studio Code has a new extension. There's a lot of new ones coming out these days, but Team Services is the extension. So if you want to do things like create pull requests, do builds, view history, do all kinds of other stuff right there from your Visual Studio Code, you can have those kinds of interactions.
So assuming you've already got VSTS in your environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're going to make that connection up there to the service, but then now it's all command line. You want to get statuses. It's all within Visual Studio Code. You can have the interaction.
Who doesn't have VSTS?
Well, I think the question from my
Yeah.
standpoint would be, if you've got VSTS, would you not be using native Visual Studio versus using Visual Studio Code? But I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, because there's a lot of. I mean, that's part of the thing. I think the perceptions that are still out there is that Visual Studio in the name equals I'm just using this Visual Studio IDE and that's all I care about, right? But like the reality is we have plugins for Eclipse, which are Java-based folks, all right? Visual Studio Code is getting quite a bit of adoption out there,
and it's pretty
people on
slick
the
as well
Mac
and quick to use. And
yeah, super. Even IT guys who don't want to install like a big community edition 7 gig thing, right? Like give me the 40 or 60 meg VS Code light install so I can do edit Azure RM templates and things like that, right?
And Visual Studio Code
Just
itself is
broken
also
your
open source.
microphone. Gosh, look
What?
at that. It's just-
The Visual Studio Code itself is also open source.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Cool.
Yeah, so there's that one.
You've had your 5 minutes.
Okay, I had 20 seconds.
So the next one that I have up is a pretty big deal. We have the Team Foundation Server Update 2. Now the reason why that is a big deal is release management's the biggest thing. So we've always had this for quite up until Update 2. We've had this disparate world of there's the old release management, and it's really kind of confusing because it uses the on-prem TFS and everything, and it is release management, which was from our acquisition.
Yeah.
But that on-prem version previously, up until now, was totally separate code base than the release management you saw in the Visual Studio Team Service.
Right.
So now with Update 2, there's a sync between the two. So when you use TFS and you use release management, it acts the same way as the service. And that also lights up a lot of other options with that release management pipeline. So, customers who are like, well, I don't know if I want to, I have TFS. I don't want to necessarily go to the service to go to my release management. You've got that in sync now.
Nice.
Obviously you have all the task-based systems and things like that you have for the build, which is good. But also couple new announcements around integrations as well. So there's a SCVMM and VMware resource deployment
like a
integration.
woo
So
and then a
that's a
boo.
point back to you.
Yeah, look at that.
So
Hybrid.
so there you go. So I'm just mixing it all. The
Yo,
three of us
yeah.
here.
It's almost like it's planned it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable organization. So is that to do with lab management then?
No. So it's a task, a plugin. So if you have particular tasks that with, let's say, SVMware or SCVMM, where you want it to do snapshots or deploy something specifically to on either one of those platforms,
It's part of a bigger workflow.
There's a kind of a native workflow
Right.
where there's a task there that's okay, snapshot this VM or restore this or do whatever you want in terms of the release workflow orchestration system that you have to deploy your
So
app or your service.
It saves you scripting it in PowerShell, because obviously VMM exposes PowerShell APIs. So you could do it already, but it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it just makes it so you may not have to do those custom scripts, and then of course the tasks will get they get updated over time for new things. So
Nice.
Save yourself some time on that. How much time do I have?
47 seconds.
Okay.
46.
So I'll do
45.
one more. So last one we have is Application Insights Analytics was announced. And this is pretty cool because it's something that we use, a number of teams internally use quite a bit, which gives you very much deeper analytical capabilities on all of the data and logs and things that you're getting from your production systems.
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to, as an ops person, go and diagnose what's going on, you've got a really crazy capability. So you can do things like, query-based strings like requests where a timestamp is greater than this time and summarize, like criteria. So
What happened to the count? Wow.
there we go. Oh, there's no count.
I know. Well,
There's no
I
count.
just
What's going
remembered
on
when
here?
we were talking how much time you got left, and I forgot to actually, because I had to reinstall the timer again because I
forgot the
changed my
count.
machine, and I forgot to
sad.
do
Siren.
the
I'm really
out,
sad, yeah.
so it was a
That's a
police siren. So I'll fix that.
Alright.
But Garrett, just finish off while I'm fixing the microphone.
So yeah, I mean, I guess just the big thing is that there's all kinds of possibilities in combinations of whatever data you want. If that is location, if it's certain log criteria you're looking for, certain machines. I mean, it's like a powerful query database on your logs and your data for troubleshooting problems or getting insights and data around your production systems. So
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right, it's just me left. I'm going to try and combine all of my on-prem stuff. We don't need to spin. So
But it's
another
so
bruise,
fun.
another bruise for my banana. You slam it. So I'll combine the on-prem stuff and the Azure stuff into one. I'll do all the on-prem stuff first and really whiz through a high-speed news update. So here we go. My 15 minutes start now. I'm kidding. So first thing, for those of you who love Hyper-V, which we all do, it's already been mentioned once from a Docker perspective, but a more traditional capability for Hyper-V, or at least a more traditional usage of Hyper-V, a new feature in 2016 is something called discrete device assignment. Now, this wasn't in the earlier technical preview. It's only been released in the most recent one, I believe. Imagine the scenario where you've got a physical server, but you've got a really powerful graphics card or some other PCI Express device. I'm going to use graphics card as a good example. Instead of using remote FX and virtual GPU technology that Hyper-V provides to create a synthetic graphics card inside the guest virtual machine for more intensive graphic workloads, now with discrete device assignment, as the name suggests, we can assign a physical device, a PCI Express device, through to a virtual machine. So you essentially could present a GPU. And instead of using generic Windows or Hyper-V presented drivers inside that guest, you're actually using the native drivers that you would get from your graphics vendor, like ATI, NVIDIA, or whatever. So it really means that you can run some pretty impressive graphical workloads, even more so than what you would find in Remote FX. And the Remote Desktop Services team are going to be supporting all of this as well. So yeah, GPUs, a good example, NVMe, so non-volatile memory express disks, if you want to present those through to virtual machines to use as secondary or tertiary storage. So loads of cool stuff that's being presented. And there's a great blog post by Didier on our good friend of the show, does a lot of blogging on Microsoft stuff. definitely check out his blog. I'll include it in the links. So some stuff that also got announced at Build, following on from Docker. Those of you who use containers in Windows Server 2016 will know there are two options. You can use PowerShell to create and run your containers, or you can use Docker. But if you use one to create, let's say, you can't use the other to manage. So I can't, if I create a Windows Server container with Docker, I can't modify it or manage it or see it with PowerShell, which is a little bit of a challenge in some cases. A lot of feedback, a lot of constructive guidance and feedback from customers and partners. The end result has been and will be going forward, something we announced at Build last week. We're going to provide a PowerShell for Docker. So the PowerShell modules that are there today will go away, and we're providing a core PowerShell module for Docker that unifies everything. So you can call PowerShell and it will trigger Docker to create the VM, start the VM or whatever.
Cool.
So a great blog post on that, unified. It makes a lot of sense. If you want to use Docker natively, you could do that as well, I'm sure. But you will be able to see and manage everything in a unified way, which is important. So that was containers. Azure Stack, we love it. It's great. I actually installed it in our lab a week or so ago. Took a couple of hours. You run the script and it just expands and hydrates and you have an Azure Stack in the end. We've actually announced an incremental release for Azure Stack Tech Preview 1. So this isn't Technical Preview 2. That's further down the line at some stage. This is just an incremental release. Unfortunately, it's not an in-place upgrade. So it's a wipe and reload. If you're using it in production, what are you doing? You shouldn't be yet. It's a single POC type scale. Same scale, single host, but you have to essentially flatten and rebuild. The benefits and improvements in this incremental release: faster VM deployment times for IaaS, better performance for VM-related actions, more stability and reliability, which is good. And there's more extensions for things like DSC, Docker, which is cool. Again, more alignment with Azure. So I'll include the link to the blog post for that. You can go and download and get started and re-image your Azure Stack, which I'm sure you're all thrilled about. Switching to Azure. So that was some on-prem stuff. Now let's talk about cloud. Scale sets. We announced a GA just recently of Azure Virtual Machine scale sets. If you're not familiar, scale set is, think of it as a collection of virtual machines or a group of virtual machines that you want to deploy in a single manner, that it also introduces things like auto scale or uses auto scale and load balancing. So imagine a workload that's multi-tiered. It's got a DB backend, an app tier, and a web tier, and you want to deploy them all as a single unit. That can form a scale set, and you can auto scale and use load balancing as part of that. And there's a great blog post from Guy on the Azure blog that helps detail how you can start to build out a scalable architecture through scale sets, why this matters, why it's important. And obviously you can use your things that you're familiar with already, like ARM and obviously PowerShell, to start to deploy these as well. So a big benefit. It's configurable in the portal, scales up, and it integrates with ARM. And there's loads of stuff, and Visual Studio actually as well. So there's an SDK.
Just as an example, Azure Container Service uses scale sets, and I was able to start a Docker Swarm container with Docker Swarm cluster with 5 managers and 100 agents in 15 minutes.
Nice.
105 VMs in 15 minutes.
Did you hear the cow and the alarm go off at the same thing there?
That was good timing.
Yes. So I've just got one or two more things to do before I finish. So there's a great blog post on DSC, so why you would use Azure Automation DSC. I'll provide the links for all these things as well. So lots of cool stuff there around why you would use DSC, why will it benefit you? Can I do this just in the cloud, or can I do this on-prem as well? There was a ton of announcements at Build, far too many for us to cover. Storage service enhancements, so things like storage service encryption for data at rest, certainly very useful for compliancy. And there's a great blog post that aggregates all of the storage announcements in Azure as well for all of the different announcements that we made at Build concerning storage specifically. So encryption, there's a roadmap and announcements. One cool thing that's not storage related specifically was the ability to now export Azure Resource Manager templates, which is awesome. So think about Azure Stack again, selfishly on-prem. You can play with something in Azure, build an ARM template, test it, work on it, love it, and then export it and bring it to Azure Stack. So you're protecting that investment you've made and the time. So there's a cool blog post that helps explain how we export a resource group as a template. So yeah, really cool stuff. So that's my just over 5 minutes. I covered 2 there, so apologies I overran. To wrap up, We've got a few more followers. We're up to 245 for the ops team. We should probably do some more like marketing and amplification, but we have no budget, as you can see by our environment. But following on from the previously published episode 16, where David was in excellent control of the TriCast, we got a minute of the DevOps Factory right at the start. We had some comments from a couple of guys from Microsoft Poland. So Darius, who we gave a big shout out to, and also I think Marius Kedziora, Microsoft technical evangelist as well. And they gave us a good explanation of some key Polish terms that we can use and the pronunciations. So hi is Cześć. Cześć. How are you? Jak się masz?
Jak się masz?
Yep.
Jak się masz?
And have a nice day. Miłego dnia, I think. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to stick with Cześć. Cześć is easy.
Cześć is easy, yeah.
Cześć.
Cześć.
So that's hi. So yeah, there you go. So don't say we don't help you from a cultural perspective as well by learning new languages as part of the ops team. So nothing more to talk about this week. Hopefully Simon will be back. So when is he back from his holiday?
18th, something like that. Yeah.
So that's another couple of episodes. Never mind. We fill in. We'll be creative. Thanks for joining us. Get in touch with me at Matt McSpirit.
At DTZAR.
At Ospassmaja, check the link.
Yep.
Again.
And at Simonster, obviously, and at the Ops team if you want to get in touch with us for the show, and obviously the Ops team at Microsoft.com on email. So yeah, nothing more to do. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you again on another episode of the Ops team. Bye.